डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी.
Namaskar dear students, myself Zeel Sagar Shah, working as an assistant professor in School of Computer Science in Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University. We are in the lecture series of object-oriented programming using C++, in which we are in Block 2, Unit 7, that is Function in C++, Part 2. So, our today's agenda is user-defined functions. So far, you have learned about library functions in the last lecture. I hope now you get the difference between user-defined function and library functions. In library functions, it already has a predefined statements in library functions. In library functions, we have seen mathematical library functions, file IO library functions, in which we have seen open, close, file, etc. Now we are going to learn about user-defined function. So far you have know what is user-defined function. User-defined function is a function which has been made by the user for a specific program. So let's see user-defined function. In user-defined function, we have three parts. First is function declaration or function prototype. Second is function call. And third is function definition. Let's see all these parts in detail, and then we will see categories of function. So in parts of function, we have function prototype declaration, function call, and the function definition. So these are the basic syntax of the parts of the function. Now let's see in detail. So whenever function call is, whenever we write a function name, at that time it redirect to our function definition, and when we return the statement, it will go back to function call. We will see this how it works in today's lecture. So what is function prototype? Function prototype is a declaration of a function that tells the program about the type of the value returned by the function, name of the function, number and type of the argument. So it is So function prototype is basically the syntax of function, how, when and where. So syntax is return type, then function name and parameters or list of arguments. And then, so what are the types of function prototypes? So int is a return type, add is a function name, and int and int. So there are two parameters in add function. We have another add function which has no return type. That's why void has been written. And int, add, float and int. So we can use different data type of parameters in our add function. So let's see this in detail. As I said, the return type specifies the type of the data the function returns. The parameter list could be empty, or it has a list of n number of parameters which user want to add in his or her function. The parameter list should contain both data type and name of the variable. For example, int factorial, int n and float j. So what is this? Int is a return type, factorial is a name of a function, int n is first parameter, float j is a second parameter. Now let's see function definition. Syntax is function type, function name and parameter list. What we will do? We will just declare one local variable and do some functionalities with that local variable. And then the return statement. And then the close bracket. So now this function definition has been closed. So this is known as header, function header. Whenever function, just try to understand the difference between function definition, function call. So whenever we define our function, at that time we need not write a semicolon because we are defining our function. So this is the function body. Let's see some example. So first line says int add int int. So this is the prototype of our function add. After that we are calling our function, that is int z is equal to add x y and semicolon. And then we are defining our function int add, int a and int b. So these are two parameters we are defining in our int add. After that we have written our body statement and we are returning our a plus b, that is summation of the local variables we have passed, that is int a and int b. So what is the rules of writing function? There are some semantics we have to follow while writing our functions. Every function should have a unique name which must be self-explanatory. For example, add. So whenever some another person try to edit your program, then he or she will get to know that this is the addition of some variables. Second, a function should be declared before it is used. This is the major functionality of functions. It always declare first and after that we will call our function. Function must be defined. The header of a function definition and function declaration must be same so that compiler might not get confused between that. If I have add function which has two parameters and the another add function which does not have any parameters, so whenever I define that function, then I should write the same prototype, same definition name in a prototype also. Function declaration is to be terminated with a semicolon. The parent or owner function is called a calling function and the child function is called a call function. A function accepts many parameters and returns only single through return statement. Then we have parameters used in function definition or declaration are called formal argument, and the parameters are used to call a function are called actual argument. We will see both the difference of formal argument and actual argument in coming slides. The number of formal arguments, type of formal arguments and order of formal arguments must be the same with the number of actual arguments, type of actual arguments and order of the actual argument. A function may be called many a times and from other functions and the function name. If a function does not return any value, then the return value must be void. Void is a keyword to indicate that the function is not returning any value. I have simply made one function, that is void display. It will show me that int num1 and float num2. Whenever I first in void display see out number 1 and the double number n2. So whenever I try to run this program, I will get this output. So in int main, I have first call the function, that is num1 and num2 with a semicolon. I have defined our display num in void display num, so that the compiler might not give our error, because definition is must. So what are the categories of function? Function with no parameter and no return value. Function with parameters and no return value. Function with no parameters and return value. Function with parameters and return value. So let's see this in detail. So function with no parameters, let's see, I have simply made void display, that is, this is the prototype. After that, I have called function display and return 0 in void main and void display. So this is the definition of my display function, and in that I just simply print hello world. So this how a flow of calling function works. And whenever I try to compile this program, I will get hello world as my output. Let's see the second category, that is function with parameters and no return type. So here void add int. So I have prototyping that this is the function, and I have taken int a and int b. Enter values of a and c in a and b. Add a and b. So now the compiler will go to void add, and I have int p and int q. So this is the difference of a and b and p and q. A is the actual parameters and p and q are the formal parameters. So whenever I try to run this, what I will get is in C, I am just c is equal to p plus q, and addition is c. So 5 plus 6 and addition is 11. So whenever I write a and b, see, a and b is copied to p and q. So a and b are actual parameters and p and q are the formal parameters. When the statement function call sum a and b is executing inside main, then the control is goes to the void main and it copy p and q in place of a and b. So let's see the another type, function with no parameter and return type. Same as the last function, but over here I am returning our type, that is int a and b. In add function I have declared two variables a and b and return the summation of my addition of the values. And whenever I in int main I have declared one integer value. Why? Because my function has been returning integer value. Whichever function returning, that data type is same as declared value in int main. So int s is equal to add function, and cout addition is s. So 5 plus 6 and addition is 11. Both the programs work same, but the functionalities are different. And let's see the last category of this function, that is function with parameters and return type. I have one function, that is multiply function, which has two parameters, int x and int y, and it returns x and x into y. So whenever I declare in int main a and b, and then in int result I am just passing multiply a and b. So over here also, why my result data type is int? Because my multiply function returning int value. If my multiply function is returning float or double value, then over here result data type is double or float, and simply I will get 5 and 6. So 5 into 6 is 30. So I hope now you understand the difference of categories of function. And in the next lecture, we are going to study about inline function, then function overloading, and etc. Thank you for watching the video.